Welcome to Big Shakti's Light on Yoga and Meditation podcast. My name is Dr. Swami Shankardev Saraswati. I'm a yoga acharya, medical doctor, psychotherapist, and Vedic astrologer. And I'm co-creator of Big Shakti along with my partner, Jayne Stevenson. Jayne is a writer, intuitive healer, and spiritual counselor who uses yoga, Jungian psychology, and dream work in her practice. This podcast is dedicated to providing you with authentic, accurate knowledge and access to a range of powerful techniques from different wisdom traditions to achieve optimal health, enlightenment, and prosperity. This podcast episode focuses on the third eye of intuition, the ājnā chakra. We have compiled 2 talks by Jayne and myself. The first is an introduction to the Awakening the Third Eye of Intuition course, and the second is from the Light on the Chakras and Kundalinī course that was held in 2002 and 2003. Welcome to the Awaken Your Third Eye of Intuition course. The purpose of this course is to support you in activating and awakening the ājnā chakra, your third eye, which is also called the divine eye. It is the eye that can see into your soul. One of the great byproducts of activating your third eye is the development of a powerful intuition, which allows you to gain access to all the knowledge and wisdom that's within you. Intuition is the ability to perceive all the possibilities inherent in the present moment and to know which of these possibilities is best for you at that time. A powerful intuition enables you to make good decisions that align with your life purpose. It also helps you support others and form meaningful relationships. Unfortunately, intuition, which is potential in all of us, is usually dormant or functions erratically unless it's developed through regular meditation practice. And this is why Jayne and I have designed this course, to give you the knowledge, techniques, support, and inspiration to initiate all of this and develop a stable relationship with your ājnā chakra, your third eye. The meditation techniques in the course activate ājnā chakra, enabling you to see the subtle dimensions of your inner being. This is the part of you that's rich with knowledge, meaning, purpose, and infinite possibilities. Connection to your inner being turns on inner guidance, which is what most people need. Most people look outside of themselves for guidance, and they've lost connection with their own inner wisdom, with their own authentic, and have lost connection with their own inner wisdom, what's authentic to them, so they feel lost and confused. As you develop your third eye, you'll gain access to your inner wisdom, which is your intuition. And of course, we all need to learn from the world, but we must also tune into our sense of what's right for us, and that's really important. Without that inner sense, things don't have meaning. And understanding what meaning is important. Understanding that meaning lies within us, not outside of us, is crucial. Objects don't have intrinsic meaning. Meaning is something that we give to an object or to a person or an experience. We might say, he or she means a lot to me, or that person doesn't mean anything to me. And life only has meaning when we can connect the outer objects, the people and experiences, to our inner being, to the feelings that arise when we see or experience them, even if it's as a memory. Therefore, it's vital that you can tune into your inner being to feel which things, which people or experiences give you a sense of meaning and purpose. And this course will teach you how to do this. You'll learn to reduce the mental noise, to tune into the silence at the core of your being, which is where power, knowledge, and wisdom reside. And this is where you'll find your intuition. Now, here is an excerpt from the Light on the Chakras and Kundalinī course.
So, intuition is perception that operates independently of concrete reality, logic, and empirical knowledge. Intuition is sudden knowing, the spark of insight that arrives without volition, apparent common sense, and meaning. Intuition communicates in a voice that may or may not sound like yours, in images not of your conscious making, and in unbidden flashes of thought and feeling. Some intuitive insights come from your individual unconscious. Others come from beyond your individual unconscious. When intuition strikes, you know things you haven't consciously learned, or you discover an aptitude for something that you have not experienced before. And I remember picking up a javelin for the first time in high school. As the teacher gave me my first lesson, I tuned out of his voice and into the feeling of the javelin in my hand. It felt balanced and very familiar. And when it was my turn to do my first throw, I threw it so far that I almost speared a student standing in a group that was supposed to be a safe distance from our group. It was very far away, the group. And I knew how to throw the javelin without any training. Likewise, when I first picked up a Tai Chi sword, it felt very natural. It felt like an extension of my arm, and I could wield the sword with some skill and speed without much training. My Taoist teacher said this is a skill cultivated in a past life. Naturally, that was probably why I was drawn to that art. Had I not held those objects, though, that intuitive connection to this part of my individual unconscious may never have been triggered. Modern scientific studies on intuition call this type of intuition coherence and insight. And it's defined as an ability to subconsciously combine information or capabilities stored in long-term memory to make correct judgments based on fragmentary cues. In my case, the fragmentary cues were simply touching the object. And many people have these intuitive eruptions of know-how by encountering objects, certain knowledge, philosophies, art forms, and languages that they've never encountered before. These memories are stored in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. I have a private student who, at the age of 8, saw a book of ancient Chinese language, which was written through graphic symbols called pictograms. He remembers falling in love and under the spell of these strange symbols and trying to copy them long before he understood their literal meaning. Later, when he studied Chinese language, he found he had a talent for it. He learned what is probably one of the most difficult languages for English-speaking people at record speed. He's been teaching Chinese for over a decade, and he is still in love with the pictograms. I'm sure many of you have experienced these sparks of spontaneous recognition, strange attractions, and uncanny abilities with a skill or a field of knowledge. So you're a natural at some things. Of course, and many of you have this intuitive connection to spiritual study and practice. Now, as I said, intuition also exists beyond individual unconsciousness. And this is where we pick up information about the past and the future, about the deep goings on within other people, objects, and events. We detect information that seems to be floating in the ether. Intuition in this sense can take the form of clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clairaudience, which is clear hearing, and clairsentience, which is clear feeling. Intuitions can occur at any time while waking, dreaming, and while semi-conscious in what is called the hypnagogic states of consciousness. From Jung's perspective, intuition is one of the 4 primary functions of the mind. The other 3 are feeling, sensation, and thinking. The 4 functions are how we perceive the world and orientate ourselves within it. And there's a 5th function called transcendent, the transcendent function, which allows us to integrate all the 4 functions harmoniously. We each have one dominant function and one weak function. And we do go into depth on Jung's functions in the Awaken Your Third Eye of Intuition course, which I know many of you have already done. Within Jung's system, the feeling function and the intuitive functions are closely linked. So when I picked up the javelin and the sword, the feeling of the objects triggered my intuition. Jung also said that each of the 4 functions can be either introverted or extroverted. Introverted intuition is a process where perception is subjective. It's orientated towards the inner world phenomena of insights, impressions, and ideas. Extroverted intuition is a process where perception is objective. It's focused on the external world of people, objects, and events, and it sees the relationships, patterns, and abstract connections between them. In Jung's paradigm, intuition is an irrational function, and it's opposite to thinking, which is a rational function. We use our rational functions to order the world because we have control over them, whereas the irrational functions happen spontaneously and we can't consciously direct them. At times, intuition can align with and affirm thinking. For example, let's say you're driving down a freeway and landmarks begin to look unfamiliar. You start to think that you may be heading in the wrong direction. You see an exit sign in the distance, but it's not until you near the exit road that your intuition suddenly kicks in, yelling to turn off now. You take the exit and realize indeed you were headed in the wrong direction. At that crucial moment, your intuition corroborated your thinking. Other times, intuition opposes thinking, and this is more often the case for 2 reasons. Firstly, thinking is a rational function, which we said. It's based on the Manomaya kosha. It often fights against the irrational intuitive function, which is based in the Vijnanamaya kosha. Secondly, for many people, thinking is actually their dominant function, especially in this modern world, this too much information age, and that's thinking gets overtaxed. So the thinking function becomes dysfunctional. And an example of thinking and intuition being in conflict, let's say you heard or read something bad about a person you're about to meet, and given the information you have, you've already made up your mind that you won't like them. But the moment you meet this person, you instantly like them. And perhaps this person instantly likes you. There's a spark of intuitive recognition, and that casts doubt and confusion on what you've heard about them, what you've thought about them. And we've all had these experiences where thinking and intuition coalesce, but probably more experiences where they contradict one another. But even when thinking and intuition do coalesce, they're separate functions. They rarely align at the same moment because they are different parts of the mind. Intuition is characterized as irrational, unconscious, quick, non-linear, and spontaneous. Thinking is characterized as rational, conscious, slow, linear, and habitual. Now, Jung said that if any of the four functions of mind are dysfunctional, that they can pollute or distort the other functions. From the yogic point of view, this means that the psyche, the chakras, and the koshas must be purified, balanced, and awakened for them to be fully functional. Ajna chakra must be healthy for intuition to connect to reality, to have clear psychic perception and clear thinking. This means that you can hold thinking and intuition, which are opposites, in a healthy relationship. And it also means that your transcendent function is working. Now, here's a true story of how intuition can be dysfunctional. So I remember being in Bali, and Shankardev was teaching a yoga nidra workshop at a yoga festival. And this was about 2009, I think. And the workshop was positioned only a few meters away from a drumming workshop, and that drumming workshop was happening at the same time, which was so crazy that it was funny. So there's a very simple example of dysfunctional thinking. Whoever planned the workshop wasn't thinking straight. But this is the story I want to tell you. We met an American woman about 50 years old who told us she was a healer who had left an entire life behind in the US based on what she felt was a powerful intuition that she must change her life and create a new life of total freedom. She'd sold her healing therapy business, divorced her, quote, boring husband, and left her family. She took a whirlwind trip to India, Italy, and finally ended up in Bali, where she'd been for 6 or so months. I mentioned to her that her journey sounded like Liz Gilbert's journey in the book Eat, Pray, Love, which millions of women had been reading in the recent years. The book is a memoir about a woman escaping a conservative husband and lifestyle to journey through Italy, India, Indonesia in search of sensual, spiritual, and romance, her romantic self. Yes, the American woman said, her powerful intuition to change her life came after reading Eat, Pray, Love. As our conversation went on, it turned out that she'd run out of money and was desperate to get back to America, to her old life. But her husband and children refused to speak to her, let alone bail her out. She was stuck in Bali doing 8 massages a day for a pittance, trying to make enough money to fly home. She was broke, exhausted, and trapped. Ironically, the exact opposite of what she wanted, which was freedom from the mundane. Now, people with spiritual and creative professions tend to idealize intuition and neglect the other functions. And it's understandable, since intuition is a higher function that relates to Ajna chakra. But we need to understand that it's not wise to act on intuition if it's dysfunctional and disconnected from the other functions. It's imbalanced. And this is probably one of the biggest lessons that most of us really get to learn through cold, hard experiences. When intuition is disconnected and dysfunctional, we are open to being easily influenced, not only from external influences through inspiring stories and media, but also from the upwellings of our samskaras and vasana within the personal unconscious and from the forces within the collective unconscious. Both external influences and internal upwellings can contaminate intuition. Internal upwellings can come from a parental voice, a cultural or personal bias, unprocessed emotions such as anger, which blinds intuition, apathy and boredom, which dulls it, and suppressed and unfulfilled desires. These are all powerful energetic forms, invisible to the physical eyes, but very real things. So sometimes you believe your intuition is speaking to you, but it's a desire that you believe, but it's a desire or a reaction to unconscious shadow content. And perhaps that's what was going on with the American woman in Bali. She obviously had big dissatisfactions in her life, and she met with a perfect balm for her dissatisfactions, an inspiring fantasy. The story was factual, but it was Liz Gilbert's reality and the American woman's fantasy. She was driven by an intuition contaminated by a powerful desire to escape. Her intuition was not grounded and integrated. And, you know, trusting intuition is not a cinch, even for people with a strong intuitive function, like Albert Einstein. Academics say that Einstein was an advanced bimodal thinker, meaning that he combined a high level of intuition with a high capacity for thinking, what some call the left brain, right brain thinking. But even Einstein said, "I believe in intuitions and inspirations. I sometimes feel that I am right. I do not know that I am." So he's very wise as well. So this balance between thinking and intuition is not a small matter for anyone. It's not like we can just switch intuition on at will, but rather we create the conditions for intuition to thrive. And one thing to remember, like a kind of caveat, is that even healthy intuition can send you down a rabbit hole. It's usually for a purpose, though, to address and balance some kind of karma in some way. So even healthy intuition can lead you into non-ideal situations. And this is why it's so important for you to develop knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and to work on your meditation, particularly Agya Chakra. And hopefully you are doing other things that make space for intuition to flow in your life. And the ultimate purpose of developing intuition is so that you can hear the voice of truth, Satyam, and see the image of light, Guru, when making decisions in all aspects of living, from what you consume to how you live and enjoy your life and relate to other beings. And it's through intuition that you reconnect with your gifts, the gifts that have been with you for many lifetimes, and you get a chance to express them and develop them in this life if you desire, if that's what you want.
Thanks, Jayne. I'll just add to that intuition can be categorized into a number of different states: weak, erratic, which is what a lot of us have. We have these spurts of intuitive insight, and then it goes away. We start back into thinking. It can be strong, and it can be what we call fully blown, fully baked intuition. A full-blown intuition is what you see when you meet really high spiritual adepts who are living, actually their consciousness has been, or the center has moved from what we call the manas, the thinking mind, into the chitta, the subconscious. So they're centered in the Vijnanamaya kosha. It's where they live. And in that is a state that is, hard to attain and hard to maintain. And it only occurs when you've got all the other functions working together really to help to maintain the intuition in that steady flame, and kind of like a flame of insight. What I want to talk about, though, is how to help you to ground your intuition more, how to understand the conflicts between the various parts of you that get in the way of, developing your intuition, or developing your Agya chakra, developing yourself, developing your self-awareness, and so on. If you would like to know more about what we do at Big Shakti, please go to www.bigshakti.com, where you can see all of our products and offerings. And you can sign up for our free newsletter. And when you do sign up, you're entitled to a 15% discount on your first purchase. And subscribers, of course, get generous discounts on all our products from time to time, especially when we release a new course. All of our courses provide you with the opportunity to experience and understand the powers and mysteries of your mind and spirit. Unwind, take a break from your daily activities, and learn how to use different forms of meditation to achieve inner tranquility, happiness, fulfillment, and spiritual awakening. You will learn the keys to a healthy lifestyle, a calm, clear mind, emotional resilience, and spiritual insight.